Imagine this scenario for a second. You save up, you pay in cash, and you finally buy your absolute dream home, completely debt-free.
Oh, the ultimate dream, right?
Right. It is beautifully crafted, it is perfectly customized to your lifestyle, and it is sitting right there on the lot waiting for you.
Yeah.
But then, there is one massive, glaring problem.
Let me guess. You have nowhere to put it.
Exactly. You suddenly realize there is not a single square inch of legal dirt in your entire city where you are actually allowed to park it and live in it.
Yeah, and welcome to the reality of the tiny home movement.
It is wild.
It really is.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate blind spot for so many people entering this space, you know?
Right. Because of what you see online.
Exactly. The visual culture online, it just sells this fantasy of total independence. Just you, your custom-built micro cabin, and like a pristine wilderness.
That's off the grid, living your best life.
Right. But the reality is that the moment your tiny home rolls off that manufacturing lot, you crash headfirst into a labyrinth of zoning laws, utility hookups, and municipal codes.
Which is exactly why we are doing this deep dive today.
Yeah, it is so needed.
So, if you are a curious learner, prepping for a real estate pivot, or if you are just fascinated by the gritty realities of alternative living, we are going to shatter a lot of preconceived notions for you today.
Definitely. We have some great data to go through.
We do. We are looking at a July 2026 directory roundup from prefabricated.co, and they have detailed 29 thoroughly researched tiny home communities across Texas.
Which is a huge sample size.
It really is. And the mission of this deep dive is to decode this landscape. We want to figure out what tiny home living actually looks like on the ground for you.
Right, moving way past the Instagram fantasy.
Exactly. We are getting into the dollars, the cents, and the actual zoning realities of where you can legally put these things.
And setting the stage here, Texas serves as the absolute perfect laboratory for this analysis.
Why is that? Just the size?
Well, yeah, partly. According to the source, the state currently boasts the largest roster in their entire national directory. So, because of its sheer size and its relatively varied regulatory environment, you just see this massive spectrum of experiments happening there.
That makes sense.
I mean, we are talking about everything from high-density urban eco-villages right in the middle of a metroplex, all the way to deep country glamping out in the hills.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the very first thing we need to do is dismantle that classic stereotype of a tiny home just being a solitary cabin out in the woods.
Yeah, that is essentially a myth at this point.
Totally. The data in this directory shows an undeniable massive shift away from isolated living and toward these highly curated neighborhoods.
Which completely changes the buying experience.
Right. Choosing a tiny home community now, it feels less like finding a vacant campsite and much more like deciding between, say, a college dorm and a private country club.
That is a great way to put it.
You are shopping for a specific type of neighbor, and a specific set of amenities.
You are really buying into a whole ecosystem. And we can see this clearly in the Austin area.
Right, the agrihoods.
Exactly. The directory highlights this concept of an agrihood, specifically pointing to Village Farm Austin.
Out in East Travis County, right?
Yes, and this community is built entirely around organic farm fields and community gardens.
That sounds idyllic, honestly.
It does. And the
Yeah.
benchmark lot rent there is around $750 a month.
Which is interesting because the directory mentions this spot is designed specifically for park model pads.
Right, the park models.
And I actually had to look that up because the terminology in this space gets incredibly dense.
It really does. So what did you find out?
Well, for you listening, a park model is essentially a hybrid. It is built on a chassis, like a traditional RV.
Okay, so it has wheels.
Right. But it is much larger, it is heavily insulated, and it is really meant for semi-permanent placement.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, it gets hard-piped into local utilities rather than being towed around every single weekend.
Right, you aren't taking a park model on a road trip.
Exactly. So for that $750 a month, you are getting the heavy infrastructure to support a semi-permanent home, all while living on a working organic farm.
But then you contrast that agricultural spacious focus with what is happening up in North Texas.
Oh yeah, this is wild.
Right. The Lake Dallas Tiny Home Village in the DFW area operates with a rent benchmarked at $650 a month.
Just $100 less.
Yeah, but the environment could not be more different from an organic farm.
It really couldn't.
It is a compact downtown district located directly along an urban avenue.
Which honestly just blew my mind. Putting tiny homes right in the middle of a downtown grid, I mean, that seems like the most obvious solution to the housing crisis.
Well,
Yet you almost never see it actually happen.
what's fascinating here is the underlying legal mechanism that makes Lake Dallas so incredibly rare.
Because it's an outlier.
A massive outlier. It is one of the country's pioneering, fully legal districts for THW's tiny houses on wheels.
Okay, so why is that so rare?
To understand why, you really have to look at municipal property taxes.
It always comes down to taxes.
It always does. Most cities have minimum square footage requirements for residential builds, often around 1,000 square feet.
Because a larger house generates more property tax revenue to fund the local schools and the road maintenance and all that.
Precisely. If a city allows a 400 square foot house on a residential lot, they collect a fraction of the tax revenue.
But they still have to provide the exact same municipal services to that resident. Trash pickup, sewer, everything.
Exactly that. So zoning boards effectively ban tiny homes through these minimum footprint laws.
That makes so much sense from a bureaucratic standpoint.
Yeah, and the directory explicitly warns you not to expect these Lake Dallas rules to apply everywhere.
Right, they had to fight for that.
They really did. That urban integration required completely rewriting the municipal ordinance. It was a massive, hard-won legal victory, not some standard zoning you can rely on.
Which perfectly bridges into our next major realization from the sources. We've established that the geography of these places varies wildly.
Definitely.
But the governance, how these places are actually run, that is where the real culture shock happens.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you aren't just renting a patch of dirt on the outskirts of town, what kind of social structure are you legally buying into?
Right. When you compress housing density to this degree, placing homes literally just feet apart, the governance model dictates your quality of life far more than the physical location.
And I have to push back on some of this because some of these governance models sound intensely restrictive to me.
Like which ones?
Well, the directory bringing up Indigo River Village in Garland. The rent benchmark is $600 a month, but it is described as a builder-managed co-op.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll be honest, a builder-managed co-op just sounds like a fancy, rebranded way of saying a strict HOA.
I can see why you'd think that.
Right. If I am spending $60,000 on a custom tiny home, why would I subject myself to a developer dictating what color I can paint my front door? Doesn't that totally defeat the rebel spirit of tiny living?
I completely understand the skepticism, but we really have to look at the financial mechanics driving that model.
Okay, walk me through it.
From a developer's standpoint, a builder-managed co-op creates a dual revenue stream. They sell you the physical home and they collect the recurring lot rent.
Right, they get paid twice.
Exactly. But to secure financing from a bank to develop that land in the first place, the developer has to guarantee the property won't depreciate.
Ah, so the strict rules are there to satisfy the bank's risk assessment.
Exactly that. The bank wants to know the asset is protected. And honestly, it actually benefits the resident, too.
How so?
Well, think about it. If you pull your very expensive, custom tiny home into an unregulated, chaotic RV park, you are entirely at the mercy of your neighbors.
That's a good point.
You could end up parked right next to a gutted, rusting school bus sitting on cinder blocks.
Yeah, that would definitely tank your property value.
Right. So the builder-managed co-op offers predictability. You are trading a degree of that wild, rebel independence for a guarantee that the community's aesthetic and infrastructure will be strictly maintained.
Okay, that makes sense. It is a curated safety net.
Exactly.
And we see other forms of that intentional curation in the directory, too. Like they mentioned Namaste Hideaway in Van Alstyne.
Oh, yeah, the intentional living one.
Right, also benchmarked at $600 a month. But their governance is strictly focused on intentional living.
Meaning what exactly?
Well, they maintain these beautiful tree-lined spaces and dedicated community event areas. So you sign a lease there specifically to participate in that shared social fabric.
You want to be part of a very specific community vibe.
Exactly.
But, you know, if we are discussing social fabric, the most profound example of governance in the source material operates on an entirely different philosophy.
Oh, you are talking about community first. Village.
Yes, down in East Austin.
This one completely reframed how I view the architecture of tiny homes. It is incredible.
It really is a radically different model.
So it was established in 2015, and they operate a model that has already housed over 420 formerly homeless neighbors.
That is just massive.
And they are in the middle of a phased expansion aiming for nearly 1,900 homes.
Wow. And their governance structure reflects that mission completely. Their intake process is strictly application-based through a chronic homelessness program.
Right, you can't just book it on Airbnb.
Exactly. They do not allow nightly rentals, and you cannot simply bring your own tiny home and rent a pad.
It is a closed ecosystem.
A closed, highly supported ecosystem.
So it isn't a campground or a hipster retreat. It is a permanent, systemic intervention.
And that is why it is so important to highlight. We culturally associate the tiny home movement with like downsizing minimalists or tech digital nomads.
Right, in life crowd.
Yeah. But the community first model proves that this exact same architectural footprint, the microshelter, can be used as a systemic solution for chronic homelessness.
That is so powerful.
It demonstrates the true versatility of the architecture. It proves that the ultimate barrier to stable housing isn't always the lack of traditional three-bedroom, single-family homes.
Sometimes a massive house isn't the answer.
Exactly. Sometimes the most effective solution is a heavily scaled-down private shelter that is integrated directly into a robust on-site support network.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
When we transition from how these communities are governed to the raw, underlying economics of the real estate.
Ah, the geography and the money.
Yes. We have to look at the actual financial trade-offs between, say, a basic commuter pad and a luxury lakeside retreat.
Right, because there's a huge spectrum there.
Exactly. And my initial assumption was that the price differences between a basic lot and a luxury lot would be massive.
That would be the logical guess.
But looking at the data, it reminds me of buying airline tickets.
Airline tickets. Okay, how so?
Think about it. When you buy a basic economy ticket, you still get to fly to the exact same destination. You get the wide open skies, you get the fundamental transportation.
Right, you just don't get the free drinks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you want to pay for a first-class ticket, you get a premium view, you get extra legroom, and you get priority boarding.
But you are still on the exact same plane.
Yes. And the price gap between a standard domestic economy ticket and a domestic first-class ticket, it's often just a few $100s.
Oh.
A relatively narrow band because the fixed cost of flying the plane is already baked in.
Oh, that is a fantastic analogy for the pricing tiers we see in the directory.
Let's lay out the tiers for you so you can hear this in action.
Yeah, let's go through the data.
So if you look at the value plays, especially for people needing to commute in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you have places like the Pines in Azle.
Okay, and what is their rate?
That one runs between $425 to $475 a month.
Yeah.
And you get a mature oak canopy.
Not bad at all.
Right. Or you can head to Tiny Lots on the Prairie in Decatur, which hits a low of $450 a month.
Which is really getting down there.
Yeah, but very few amenities. Just wide open spaces, you and the prairie.
So that is your basic economy ticket. You are paying for the legal right to park and the most basic utility access.
Exactly. But then look at the Houston Lake Country tier.
The premium seats.
The first class. You have the Lake Conroe RV and Tiny Home Park, benchmarked at $575 a month.
And that is for a waterfront adjacent spot.
Yeah. And then you have Woodland Lakes, which is this gated community in the Piney Woods, for $500 a month.
Which is remarkably close in price to the Prairie lot.
I know. And then Majestic Hills, which is this super premium resort-style gated enclave where they don't even list the prices publicly. You have to request them.
If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Right. But generally speaking, we are still talking about a remarkably tight range.
And even as we move into East Texas and the Hill Country, that compression holds true.
Yes. Let's look at those alternatives. Vintage Grace out by Lake Fork runs $425 to $525 a month.
Great alternative to the DFW commute stress.
Definitely. Then you have Elkin Village in Canton. Now, this is a heavily landscaped 55-plus age-qualified lane.
Okay, so highly curated demographics.
Yes, and that is $700 a month.
Still not a massive jump.
And for a premium micro-retreat, the Grove in Mineral Wells is $750 a month, placing your pad in these beautiful old-growth woodlands.
So synthesizing all this pricing data, it reveals a massive geographical and lifestyle spread. I mean, from raw prairie dirt to highly curated gated resorts for retirees.
Variety is huge.
Yet the rent only fluctuates from roughly $425 to $750. The gap is incredibly narrow.
Right. So why is that floor so high, though? Why can't someone just go rent a piece of grass in the middle of nowhere for $100 a month?
Because of the fixed costs of real estate development. Basically, the jet fuel in your airline analogy.
Ah, okay. The infrastructure.
Exactly. Before a developer can rent out a single spot, they have to pay for the civil engineering.
Right, the unsexy stuff.
The very expensive, unsexy stuff. They have to trench thousands of feet of sewer lines. They have to pull heavy 50-amp electrical service from the municipal grid to every single lot.
That adds up fast.
Oh, yeah. They have to grade the roads, and they have to secure massive commercial liability insurance policies.
Because the cost of trenching a sewer line doesn't magically change whether you are putting it under a cheap prairie or a luxury pine forest.
Exactly. Those fixed infrastructure costs mandate a baseline rent of around $400 just to break even and satisfy the bank loans.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
And the ceiling is similarly capped, too. Because if a tiny home community tries to charge $1,000 for a patch of concrete, the consumer will simply go rent a traditional apartment.
Right. The value proposition vanishes at a certain price point.
Precisely. Therefore, that extra $200 or $300 you pay at the top end isn't buying you a bigger house. Your footprint stays exactly the same.
You are buying the environmental upgrades.
Yes. You are paying for the security gates, the poured concrete pads like they feature at the Bird's Nest community, and the lifestyle tailoring like the age restrictions at Elkin Village.
You are upgrading the ecosystem, not the shelter.
Perfectly said.
Now, everything we have mapped out so far revolves around the standard monthly lease.
Right, the traditional landlord-tenant dynamic.
But what if you want to completely break that mold? The directory ventures zoning.
Oh, the outliers.
Yeah, where the legal and logistical hurdles get extremely intense.
The outliers in this directory are really where you see the true complexities of land ownership come into play.
Let's start with Spur, Texas, out in Dickens County.
A fascinating case study.
It really is. The directory lists a $0 lot benchmark for Spur. $0.
Yep, absolutely free rent.
When I read that, my immediate reaction was just, wait, how does a town operate on $0 lot rent? What is the hidden trap?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the answer lies in the fundamental difference between leasing and owning.
Okay, explain that.
Spur, Texas has aggressively marketed itself as America's tiny friendly town. The lot rent is $0 because they utilize a fee-simple land path.
And for those of us who aren't real estate attorneys, what does fee simple actually mean in practice?
It just means you are buying the parcel of land outright.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you are not signing a month-to-month lease with a landlord. You hold the physical deed to the dirt beneath your foundation.
Yeah.
And because there is no landlord, there is no lot rent.
Okay, but there has to be a trade-off. It can't just be free, easy living.
Oh, there is a massive trade-off. The trade-off is that you absorb all the responsibilities of a traditional developer, just on a micro scale.
So you're on the hook for everything.
Everything. Because you own land within city limits, you have to personally navigate the municipal permitting office.
Which sounds like a headache.
It is. You are responsible for paying the annual property taxes. You have to hire the contractors to tie your home into the city's water and sewer mains.
Making sure everything passes local safety codes, pulling the permits.
Exactly. You are trading the monthly convenience of a leased pad for the upfront capital expenditure of traditional property ownership.
So you are basically becoming your own general contractor.
Essentially.
That is a massive commitment.
Yeah.
Now, on the complete opposite end of that commitment spectrum, the directory lists Rome, Texas, out in Spicewood.
Right. The short-term option.
Yeah, this one ranges from $150 to $250 per night.
Which the source clearly categorizes as boutique glamping.
Right, they emphasize this is just for design reference. You aren't moving your whole life there.
It's a weekend getaway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is the place you go to test drive the psychological reality of living in 200 square feet for a weekend.
Yeah.
You know, before you do something drastic like selling all your living room furniture.
Testing the waters is such a critical step. I highly recommend it.
Totally. But if you do decide you love it and you want to take your tiny home down to the Gulf Coast for a longer-term stay, the directory issues a very severe reality check.
The coastal warning.
Yes. The directory features Rockport Tiny Home and RV Park, which operates as this snowbird base camp for about $475 a month.
Sounds great on paper.
It does. But they attach a massive asterisk to this listing regarding the coastal environment.
Because the environment on the Texas coast is actively hostile to lightweight mobile structures.
Yeah, the wind is no joke.
It isn't. The directory stresses that prospective buyers must treat wind ratings, flood zones, and insurance requirements as primary filters, not as an afterthought once the lease is already signed.
Let's talk about that insurance aspect for a second, because a lot of people just assume they can buy a standard tiny house, tow it down to the beach, and watch the sunset.
Yeah, that is a very dangerous assumption.
If you have a wooden structure sitting on a trailer chassis during hurricane season, the liability is just terrifying.
It is an absolute nightmare for insurance underwriters.
I bet.
Think about it. If a Category 3 hurricane hits, an unanchored tiny home on wheels isn't just at risk of being destroyed, it becomes a multi-ton projectile.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it could smash into neighboring homes or local businesses.
Exactly. And the local county codes reflect this danger. You cannot simply park a standard unit on the coast.
They won't let you.
No. You have to verify your specific build's windstorm class. And often, to even qualify for windstorm insurance in a coastal zip code, the structure must be engineered with specific hurricane ties.
So it has to be strapped down.
Strapped down and anchored to a permanent poured concrete foundation.
So what does this all mean? We have covered a massive amount of technical and geographical ground today.
We really have. From the property tax incentives of Lake Dallas to the heavy infrastructure costs driving rent compression.
All the way to the hurricane realities of the Gulf Coast. If there's one overarching takeaway for you from this deep dive, it is that tiny living in Texas is a highly fragmented, deeply complex real estate market.
It is not simple.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
That beautifully curated picture of parking a custom cabin wherever your heart desires, it is largely a myth.
A very persistent myth, but yeah.
So before you buy a trailer, before you sign a contract with a builder, or before you commit to a piece of fee simple land, you have to align your aesthetic dreams with hardcore due diligence.
Absolutely essential.
You have to read the municipal ordinances, calculate the fixed costs of your utilities, and ensure your structure can legally exist in the climate you are moving to. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. I really hope this gave you a completely new framework for how to look at alternative real estate. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking past the filter, and we will catch you on the next one.
And before you go, consider this final thought to mull over.
Oh, yeah, lay it on them.
We saw how Spur, Texas is actively rewriting their municipal codes to welcome tiny structures through that unique fee-simple land path, right?
Right, zero lot rent.
Well, it forces you to wonder, could the tiny home movement become the ultimate tool for revitalizing America's fading rural towns?
Oh, that is an interesting angle.
For decades, rural municipalities have been hollowed out by population decline and shrinking tax bases. So instead of tiny homeowners constantly fighting zoning boards and begging for a legal place to park in overcrowded, expensive cities, could we be on the verge of a massive paradigm shift?
Where the towns actually want them.
Exactly. As remote work normalizes, could struggling towns across the country soon find themselves actively competing to attract tiny homeowners, using their open land and tailored ordinances as an economic lifeline to save their communities?